Imagine this. You spend your entire life trying to fit in, striving for approval, shaping yourself according to expectations that are not even your own. You seek validation, fear judgment, and hold on to the idea that your worth is measured by how others perceive you. But what if everything you've been taught about caring too much is actually holding you back? What if the key to true happiness, confidence, and success is not in controlling everything, but in letting go? Michel de Montaigne, a thinker centuries ahead of his time, explored this paradox deeply. His philosophy is a guide to inner freedom, self-acceptance, and the art of living without unnecessary burdens. He challenged the very foundations of what we believe about identity, success, and the pressures of society. And by the end of this journey, you will understand why the moment you stop caring about external validation, everything in your life starts falling into place. Think about it. How much of your stress and frustration comes from trying to meet expectations that don't even belong to you? How often do you hold yourself back because you're afraid of being judged? How much of your energy is spent on worrying about things that, in the grand scheme of life, have little meaning? Montaigne's philosophy reveals a simple yet powerful truth. The more we let go of external pressures, the more we align with our authentic selves. He believed that life is unpredictable, that perfection is an illusion, and that self-acceptance is the highest form of wisdom. But here's where most people get it wrong. Not caring doesn't mean being indifferent, lazy, or unmotivated. It doesn't mean withdrawing from life or ignoring responsibilities. It means freeing yourself from the constant need for approval, the fear of rejection, and the exhausting habit of overanalyzing every action. It means living on your own terms, being present in the moment, and understanding that you don't have to prove anything to anyone. Montaigne spent much of his life reflecting on the nature of human behavior. He observed that people are often prisoners of their own minds, caught in endless cycles of worry, self-doubt, and insecurity. He questioned why we allow the opinions of others to shape our decisions, why we cling to control when life is inherently uncertain, why we chase an idea of success that is not even our own. And most importantly, he asked, what would happen if we simply stopped caring about these things? When you stop caring about being perfect, you begin to embrace your flaws. When you stop caring about external validation, you start living for yourself. When you stop trying to control everything, you make space for life to unfold naturally. And here's the paradox. The less you care about proving yourself, the more powerful you become. Think about the most confident, charismatic people you've ever met. Are they the ones constantly seeking approval, over-explaining themselves, and trying to be liked by everyone? Or are they the ones who seem at ease, unbothered by small worries, and unapologetically themselves? Montaigne understood this secret long before modern psychology confirmed it. People are drawn to authenticity. When you stop seeking validation, when you embrace your imperfections and trust yourself, you naturally become more attractive not just socially, but in every aspect of life. The moment you detach from the fear of failure or judgment, you gain something even more valuable. Freedom, the freedom to take risks without overthinking, the freedom to express yourself without hesitation, the freedom to simply exist without constantly measuring your worth by external standards. But here's where it gets truly fascinating. Once you let go of unnecessary worries, not only do you find peace, but things in your life actually start to improve. Relationships become more genuine. Opportunities come naturally. Decisions become easier because they are based on what you truly want, not what you think you should want. This is the essence of Montaigne's philosophy. He believed that most of our suffering comes from resisting reality, from trying to force life into a mold that doesn't fit. But when you release that resistance, everything begins to align. Think about this. How many times have you hesitated to speak your mind because you were afraid of what others would think? How often do you replay conversations in your head, worrying about how you were perceived? How much of your life has been shaped by expectations that were never truly yours? Montaigne invites us to step away from these self-imposed limitations. He challenges us to embrace uncertainty, to accept imperfection, and to stop allowing fear to dictate our choices. And this is just the beginning, Bick, as we dive deeper into his philosophy, we will uncover practical ways to apply this mindset to your life. ways that will help you break free from mental barriers, make decisions with confidence, and truly experience the freedom that comes from letting go. Michel de Montaigne's philosophy isn't just an abstract intellectual exercise, it's a deeply practical roadmap for transforming your inner world and the way you move through life. At its core lies a powerful question. What changes when you stop caring about superficial validation, stop letting fear shape your actions, and begin living on your own terms? Imagine waking up and realizing that much of what you've been worrying about, fitting in, meeting social expectations, constantly trying to be enough, was never truly real. The stress, pressure, and fear you've carried for so long were largely illusions, products of social conditioning, internalized expectations, and a mind trained to overanalyze and self-doubt. Montaigne understood something timeless about human nature. We are wired for worry. We obsess over outcomes, rehearse worst-case scenarios, and chase approval from others, hoping it will provide a sense of security. But what if the real secret to inner peace isn't found in controlling everything, but in surrendering to the truth that much of life is outside our control? One of Montaigne's most profound insights is this: you will never be fully understood by others, and that is perfectly okay. This is a hard truth to accept in a world where we're constantly encouraged to explain ourselves, justify our choices, and gain acceptance. But think about how often we hold back our opinions to avoid being judged, or suppress our real desires just to fit in. We look outward for permission to be ourselves, when in reality, the only validation that matters is our own. Montaigne observed how much pain comes from caring too deeply about things that ultimately don't matter. We allow small fears, minor criticisms, and fleeting judgments to consume us. We carry grudges, stress over what others might think, and obsess over problems that, in hindsight, are often insignificant. But when you zoom out and take a broader perspective, you start to see how much energy we waste on things that don't truly serve our growth or happiness. Have you ever noticed how clarity and peace often come the moment you stop forcing something? When you stop obsessing over a solution, it appears. When you stop chasing someone's attention, they suddenly turn toward you. These moments aren't coincidences, they're proof of a deeper principle. When you let go, life flows. And yet, most people resist this wisdom. We're taught that letting go is dangerous, that if we stop caring, we'll lose ambition, discipline, or direction. But Montaigne challenges this belief. He teaches us that not caring doesn't mean indifference or laziness. Rather, it's about shifting your attention away from what drains you and toward what nourishes you. It's about choosing wisely where to invest your emotional energy. He invites us to embrace imperfection, not just in ourselves, but in others, and in life itself. The desire for absolute control is exhausting and, ultimately, futile. No matter how carefully we plan or how diligently we try to manage outcomes, life will always surprise us. There will be chaos, uncertainty, and failure. Instead of resisting this reality, Montaigne urges us to make peace with it. Accepting that unpredictability is a natural part of life can free us from much of the anxiety that holds us back. Think for a moment. How much more relaxed would you feel if you stopped trying to control every detail of your life? What if you stopped analyzing every interaction or fearing every possible mistake? What if you welcomed failure as a necessary part of growth, not a sign of inadequacy? Montaigne reminds us that every visionary, artist, and leader throughout history has faced rejection, failure, and misunderstanding. What sets them apart isn't that they avoided these challenges, it's that they refused to let them define who they were. They stayed true to themselves, not because they didn't care about anything, but because they cared more about living authentically than fitting into someone else's mold. And something remarkable happens when you adopt this way of thinking. People notice. You become more grounded, more magnetic, and more centered, not because you're trying to impress anyone, but because you're no longer wasting your energy on things that drain you. You stop chasing validation and instead radiate a quiet confidence that draws people in. You might wonder why some people seem to succeed effortlessly, while others struggle no matter how hard they try. Often, the difference isn't intelligence, talent, or effort's mindset. Those who thrive have learned to let go of what doesn't matter. They don't get stuck in fear or lost in overthinking. They don't let minor setbacks derail them or give their power away to others' opinions. Montaigne's wisdom teaches us this: the less we cling, the more we gain. When we stop fearing failure, we become braver. When we stop needing approval, we become more real. When we stop controlling every outcome, we leave room for magic, unexpected opportunities, genuine connections, and moments of profound insight. This is why Montaigne's idea of not caring is so transformative. It's not about apathy or giving up, it's about liberation. It's about freeing yourself from the emotional traps that prevent you from living fully. Now, think about your own life. How much of your stress comes from wondering what others will think of you? How often have you hesitated to chase a dream or speak your truth because of fear of judgment? Montaigne challenges us to break free from this cycle. He invites us to live with courage, to stop trying to mold ourselves to fit someone else's version of success, and to embrace the uncertainty that life inevitably brings. By doing so, we don't just find peace, we unlock the door to a more fulfilling, authentic existence. In the end, Montaigne's philosophy is a gentle but powerful call to stop chasing what doesn't matter and start living for what does. It is a timeless reminder that when you let go of the need to prove, perfect, or please, you finally make space to become who you really are. How often do you find yourself mentally reliving past mistakes, almost as if replaying them will somehow erase what happened? Many people fall into this cycle of self-blame, as if punishing themselves repeatedly might rewrite history. But Michel de Montaigne offers a liberating alternative. He reminds us that the past is over, the future is unknown, and the only moment we can truly live in is the present. And when we accept this fully, not just intellectually, but emotionally and spiritually, it changes everything. Yet Montaigne's wisdom doesn't stop there. One of the most surprising ideas in his philosophy is that detachment, far from isolating us, actually leads to stronger, more meaningful relationships. There's a curious paradox at work in life. The moment you stop desperately needing something, it often comes to you with ease. When you stop chasing approval, people respect you more. When you stop fearing failure, new opportunities appear. When you stop trying to control every aspect of your life, things often begin to fall into place in the most unexpected and beautiful ways. This idea of letting go of outcomes, of expectations, of fear forms the core of Montaigne's teachings. Detachment, as he sees it, isn't about withdrawing from life or becoming indifferent. But if detachment is so powerful, why do so many people resist it? The answer lies in how we've been raised. From an early age, society teaches us that control equals safety. We're told that if we work hard enough, plan well enough, and worry just the right amount, we can shape life exactly how we want it. Montaigne challenges this belief, calling it an illusion. He argues that no matter how much we try to control the world around us, uncertainty remains a constant. Plans fall apart. Surprises happen. Worrying doesn't change. Outcomes, it only drains our energy. Instead of resisting life's chaos, Montaigne encourages us to accept it. He believed that true freedom comes not from bending the world to your will, but from accepting it as it is, messy, unpredictable, and imperfect. This applies especially to our relationships. How many of your conflicts have stemmed from unmet expectations? How often have you tried to shape someone else's behavior to match your desires, only to end up frustrated or hurt? Montaigne saw this clearly. He believed that authentic connection doesn't come from control, it comes from acceptance. Because they don't demand constant attention, they don't need endless reassurance, and they don't cling to others out of fear. Instead, they exude calm, confidence, and a sense of inner wholeness. Ironically, this draws people in. Those who are desperate for validation often repel it, while those who are self-assured and emotionally independent tend to attract it naturally. There's a simple but profound truth in Montaigne's philosophy. The way we treat others is a mirror of how we treat ourselves. If we constantly seek praise and approval from others, it's likely because we haven't fully accepted ourselves. If we're terrified of being alone, it may be because we haven't yet made peace with our own company. If we need people to act a certain way for us to feel secure, we may be lacking a solid internal foundation. But something remarkable happens when you shift your focus inward. When you stop trying to control other people, when you release your fear of solitude, and when you stop measuring your worth by external standards, you unlock an entirely new level of freedom. You're no longer at the mercy of other people's moods, choices, or judgments. Take a moment to reflect. How much of your emotional energy is consumed by reactions to others? How often does someone's comment ruin your whole day? How many times have you carried anger or disappointment long after it stopped being useful? Montaigne invites us to let go of this emotional baggage. Peace, he teaches, is something you cultivate from within, not something that others can give you or take away. Now imagine living with this mindset. Imagine being able to walk through life without being shaken by every criticism. Imagine facing the unknown with calm rather than panic. Imagine loving others freely, without the need to control them, change them, or depend on them for your sense of self. This is what becomes possible when you stop fixating on things that don't truly matter. Letting go doesn't mean you stop caring. It doesn't mean becoming cold or disengaged. In fact, it's the opposite. Montaigne's philosophy is not about emotional detachment in the sense of apathy, it's about emotional clarity. It's about participating fully in life, in relationships, in purpose, but doing so without clinging, without needing to manipulate outcomes, and without carrying the unnecessary weight of worry. His teachings promote a profound kind of balance. Care deeply about what truly matters or values, your character, your peace of mind, and stop wasting your energy on the rest. Let go of social comparisons, stop obsessing over perfection, and release your need for control. In doing so, you create space for growth, for connection, and for authentic joy. When you internalize this philosophy, life feels different. The noise quiets. Your interactions become more sincere. Decisions become easier because they are guided by clarity rather than fear. And your relationships flourish not because you're trying harder to make them work, but because you've stopped placing unrealistic expectations on them. In the end, Montaigne shows us that detachment is not about turning away from the world, it's about turning toward it with open eyes and an open heart. It's about meeting life as it is, not as you wish it to be, and in that space of acceptance, discovering a peace that can't be shaken. So, ask yourself, what are you holding on to that no longer serves you? What expectations, fears, or attachments are weighing you down? And what would happen if you simply let them go? As we move into the final part of this journey, we will uncover the ultimate realization why embracing uncertainty, imperfection, and detachment does not just lead to inner peace, but also to a life of deeper meaning, success, and fulfillment. At this point, you might be wondering, if letting go is so powerful, why don't more people embrace it? Why do so many remain trapped in the endless cycle of anxiety, approval seeking, and control? The answer is fear. Fear of the unknown, fear of failure, fear of what might happen if we stop micromanaging every aspect of our lives. Society has conditioned us to believe that if we loosen our grip, everything will fall apart. Montaigne's philosophy is not about recklessness, it is about wisdom. He teaches us that by letting go of unnecessary worries, we gain clarity. By releasing control, we gain freedom. And by embracing uncertainty, we gain a life of deeper meaning and fulfillment. Think about the greatest moments of your life, the moments that truly mattered. Were they planned down to the last detail, or did they happen spontaneously when you least expected them? Some of the most beautiful things in life cannot be forced: love, inspiration, creativity, and even success. They often come when you stop chasing them, when you create space for them to appear naturally. Consider the artist who no longer worries about whether their work will be accepted by the world and, as a result, creates something truly extraordinary. The entrepreneur who stops fearing failure, takes bold risks, and ends up changing an entire industry. The person who stops searching desperately for love and, in that space of self-acceptance, meets the right person effortlessly. Instead, he encourages us to flow with life, to accept its imperfections, to laugh at its absurdities, and to find joy even in the chaos. Because here is the ultimate realization: You do not need to control everything to be happy. You do not need to prove anything to anyone. You do not need to fear uncertainty because life itself is uncertain, and that is what makes it beautiful. When you stop caring about external validation, you become truly confident. When you stop fearing failure, you become unstoppable. When you stop trying to control every little detail, you allow space for magic to happen. So, as you move forward, ask yourself, what can you let go of today? What unnecessary weight have you been carrying that no longer serves you? And what would your life look like if you simply trusted that things will fall into place? Because the moment you stop caring about the wrong things, the right things find their way to you. And that is the true power of Montaigne's philosophy. Thanks for looking.